Raider Nation, stand up. Please stand up. Cover 3D Raider podcast is about to begin. The best part of your week starts right now. Dwayne Douglas here in California on the West Coast. We got my man Monster Mash Ken on the East Coast and the man in paradise, Sean Oahu Raider.
How's it?
How's it going
I like that intro, man. I got little goosebumps there, dude. Good stuff.
I just want to say one thing on a serious note, because we do live in serious times. The escalation of hatred and violence towards our Asian American brothers and sisters, like that, like we can dead that shit. Like that really needs to. We got to move on. I don't want to get political, like too political on that, but like I don't think it's kill like that right there is kind of. I've just been on my chest all week because I have a lot of friends in that community, and it just really it's kind of sickening now to deal with that as well. On to the Raiders here. The text line is 858-429-9465. People are listening to the Cover 3D Raider podcast in Columbus, Ohio, Hugh, Ohio, West Sacramento, San Jose, California, View Park, Scotland, and Compton, California. I love it. Born and raised in Compton. I love it. You can also catch us on IGTV, YouTube, Facebook, all those good stuff here. The Raiders made some crazy moves. Not crazy. Some crazy. Some
questionable.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see what those moves are. I also want to shout out to Bourbon Raider Rich, some of the new people on YouTube, Robert Broadnax and Jonathan Cobos. I believe that Cobos is how you say his last name. On YouTube as well for subscribing. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. The Raiders have they got their picks back from COVID. That's one thing, and they also got Marcus Mariota back. So with all the moves being made, I think the best thing to do is kind of break it down by position group. So we'll just start in the quarterback room. Mariota's back. Are we happy about that? Do we feel like that's a good move by the Raiders going forward here to have Marcus Mariota there?
I'm going to go first, Sean, because I know you have a lot more to say than I do. The only thing that made me upset is just last season why they signed him for so much and they didn't do anything with him. But I am happy that he's back because he's more than capable of probably being the best backup quarterback there is. And if Derek Carr goes down, that's a whole new spark of playing for everybody. So I'm excited about it. It's a good move.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I wanted him back. I thought he should have been retained. I'm glad they were able to do it to help the wallet this season because the reality is he is the backup quarterback. He's not going to have a chance to be the starter unless it would be injury. Maybe last year if they had a regular offseason, things would have looked differently, but not at all. So it's important to have a good backup quarterback. We saw that last time we made the playoffs and we played the Houston Texans with Connor Cook, who isn't even in the league anymore. So it's important to have that. Like we've all kind of wished on here. You see Sean Payton, you see these other gurus know what to do with a backup running quarterback in the red zone. That's the thing that I wish there's a role there for him.
Yeah.
That's just the thing. Carr can move the ball up and down in between the 20s, like the best with anybody. But sometimes the red zone stalling, if that becomes a theme early in the season, I hope they can, have a playbook for Mariota. I mean, look what Taysom Hill does. Look what a lot of these other teams are able to do. So to bring some versatility, but it's great to have a good quarterback room like that. And of course, me being out here in Hawaii, he's a local kid from Oahu, and he's a incredible human being. He doesn't even have social media. He just works on his foundations and a really humble guy. So I think he's good for the locker room as well.
He's not one of my favorite quarterbacks, and I never liked Mariota, but it's different when you don't like somebody but you respect them. Like I don't like his play on the field, but like, for me, because like, just the little things that I don't like about him, but like as far as respecting him as a competitor, respecting him as a man, knowing that like he is he's studying that playbook just as hard as Derek is. Like that's really a good thing. What I don't like about it is the Raiders, Gruden's inability to groom a young quarterback. Why isn't there? Why is if we have a third string quarterback? Why don't we have a third string quarterback who the Raiders drafted, who they can
Right.
who they can groom for maybe success either somewhere else if you read up on Carr, or if you move on from Carr, he's the NFL. He's the next quarterback for the Raiders. They don't have that guy on a roster. That's a problem, and I thought it disgusts me that they don't have that situation, and the fact that they put him, they gave him a contract that wasn't really tradable. I mean, think about it. Like in DC, we have Fitzpatrick. They chose Fitzmagic over Mariota. Chicago, they chose the Indy Dalton, the Red Rifle, the Horn Frog over over what we saw from Marcus Mariota in that one game. So I'm happy that he's there in case Derek gets hurt for a couple of weeks, something like that. But I'm annoyed that they weren't able to flip that into getting him healthy, investing in him, in some draft picks or some capital, and the fact that Peterman is a third quarterback, and there's no guy on this roster who they can develop, who they say they developed as a NFL quarterback, and it just bothers me. Especially he's been horrible with young quarterbacks, and it just boggles my mind for the guru quarterback club guy that he is.
I agree. You could say that about a lot of positions on our team about the play development. So choose your position group.
Peterman's a head scratcher for everybody in the entire Raider Nation, but he's doing something right, and you can't knock the hustle. He's on a roster, and that's all. I mean, as long as I don't see him, that's fine. I don't give a shit.
Because you already know if you see him, you got to turn the channel off.
It means we're going to lose.
Turn the TV off if you see him play.
Here's something that would be a positive, because the biggest issue this last offseason and his entire career, Mariota, has really been not being healthy.
Yeah, he's healthy now.
So if he's healthy through the entire camp process, through whatever influx of preseason and everything they go through, maybe you're confident enough to just not have 3 quarterbacks dressed, and you don't even need Peterman and by then. So we don't know. We'll just see. I mean, that would be the hope. Carr is a pretty damn healthy quarterback most of his career and he's been able to play hurt. So we'll see. Yeah.
So we go from quarterbacks to running backs now, and I want to take my shot at the blue checkmark posse and all the people who, in ESPN and CBS Sports, and people who just maybe like take a glance at the Raiders when they do something, right? Mm-hmm. So the Raiders sign Kenyan Drake, okay? And you would have thought they signed, I don't know, Herschel Walker at his current age. Like, the guy can actually play. He can play at a high level. He has more, ability to, he's really good at catching the ball out of the backfield. He can take it to the house. He's done it numerous times. He's played in an offense that played an offense where you can do a lot of different things with it. He did it in Miami. He did it in Arizona. And if you look at the Cleveland Browns, or you look at Gruden back in the day, hasn't Gruden always had 2 backs? And
multiple depth, yeah.
Multiple backs. And before I turn over to you, Ken, to the national media, and this is how I know how clueless they are. Josh Jacobs, the gentleman who was on my right or left, however you're viewing this this podcast, he doesn't play 16 games. He never plays 16 games. And part of the red zone woes that the Raiders have is that they can't run the football down. They can't run the football down in the red zone, and that's a problem. And this guy is a touchdown machine down in the red zone. Kenyan Drake, Monster Match Ken, what are your thoughts about Kenyan Drake joining the Raiders?
Well, I like it. I was surprised to see it happen. I look at it as it's a really good 1-2 punch, and you look at the Cleveland teams that have these 1-2 punches, and if something happens to Jacobs,
which always does.
And whether that's the O-line play or whatever, the play calling period, Kenyan Drake is a playmaker. He's shifty, and he could be the guy somewhere else. It kind of goes back to the Mariota conversation we just had. But how is Gruden going to use him to succeed? Now, I like Jalen Richard, but he's not doing much lately. So I'm wondering to see what they do if they get a speedster. I mean, Richard can run. He is a speedster. He can run. But I'd love to see somebody else come into in that third string. I know they signed Theo Riddick, so I don't know what they're going to do. I do like the 1-2 punch. I'm all for it. I watched him in Arizona. I watched him a lot in Miami because he was on a fantasy football team, so I paid attention to him a lot. And that boy is bringing in touchdowns. I think he had 10 last season, so he's bringing in touchdowns. So.
Yeah, I mean, to me, in a normal offseason, we have the luxury to add that kind of money and apply it to a backup running back, which is what he is, as great as he is. I like the player. I think the move just breaks into a lot of what Gruden's failures have been. He drafted Jacobs in the first round. They say never take a running back in the first round. Well, he did it, and Jacobs has injury issues. And, and now we're already looking at Lynn Bowden Jr. was the first pick of the third round last year, and he's gone. So I feel like it's almost mirroring his mistakes that now he has to force pay the hand to get an upgrade in his backfield because of things that Dwayne has said. You're not developing younger players well enough. You're not drafting well enough, all these things. So you have to go out and pay top money for a guy. Now, these guys are both willing to work together. They seem very excited. They're Bama boys and all that. And I think it's a positive in one aspect. The other thing is like Ken said, will Gruden use him? They said Jacobs, they wanted him to catch however many passes last year. Did he? No, he didn't. Part of it's his health. Part of it's playbook design. Part of it, the ball goes around a lot in this offense. So when you look at a guy like Aguilar, only had 3 catches a game, I understand that. But what he did when he got the ball was critical for the team. So I'm hoping Kenyan Drake's use is critical and impactful for the team. If not, we'll get to it soon. You just lost 3 starting offensive linemen. You can say good, bad, too much money, whatever. And now you're adding a fancy backfield player behind a brand new offensive line, and you're probably drafting a right tackle in the first round. That's a lot of working parts. I feel like Gruden's always just clogging all the holes in the boat. Like it's just next one to next one to next one. Trent Brown, highest paid. Now we need a new tackle. Now it's just like very circular. And when you're talking about building the studs of a development of a cohesion of a team, you want a group of guys that have been playing together for 6 years, 7 years during your 10-year portion of that coaching career. Right now, the roster every year is a complete turnstile. We lost 3 captains in one off season. I mean, like it's just crazy. So I like the player. The signing came as a surprise to a lot of people. The player is nice. The use per value, per Gruden, per the offense, per everything else is where I come into question. With
yet to be seen. Prove it to you. Prove the sign. Yeah.
He mentioned that he's going to be moved around and used. I think you're going to see him on the field a lot together. Like I mean,
I hope so.
Much more.
I hope so too.
Yeah, much more. Because I think a linebacker on him. Good luck. I mean, I don't. I mean, that's just going to
be same thing with Jacobs too, though. If they said they were going to use Jacobs in the pass game last season, I mean, it didn't happen a lot. It started off kind of good, but then they went back to the run game, and I got to shout out my boy Eric from the ECN podcast. He said it. He said Gruden's going to run Jacobs to the ground, man. He's going to hurt him, and this is what we're seeing what happen. He called it, and now we've got Kenyan Drake in, and it's a good 1-2 punch. Hopefully it translates to the field of what he's done in the past.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Sean, you want to roll with the offensive line movement?
Well, the offensive line to me is just incredible. What they did. We knew Trent Brown was going to go somewhere, and that's warranted. I'm with that. I think all 3 of us were ready, and like every other person that follows the Raiders, outside of a few fans, were like, get rid of him. They did that. They didn't get good value. They made him the highest paid offensive lineman in the league for whatever reason. There's a lot of them with Trent Brown. Health and off the field and everything else, they failed again. So now you have a new need, and it comes to your own demise. It's just like It's just like trading Cooper, and then you're in a position where you had to go trade for Antonio Brown, and that didn't work out. Egg in the face. It's just continual with Gruden and now with Mayock in the mix. There's just no cohesion to these moves. And Hudson's a center. He's a star. He's a good player. He had one of his worst years of his career with us during his Raiders tenure. Get it? Yeah, but there was injuries all around in the offensive line. Gabe Jackson, it's so crazy to me. And I know a lot of people saying the depth played well. Andre James is an interesting thing. I know Dwayne thinks he's a pretty credentialed player from the Pac-12.
I just knew he was going to be. I just know they love him, and he's going to be the next center.
That's great. They love him. He's the next center. Is he going to be a high caliber center? I mean, I went back and watched his start versus Detroit in 2019. Watch that game. Maybe he's a lot better now in 1 year or something, but I have concerns there. I have valid concerns with what they did with the offensive line. I felt like if anything, this offseason was entirely about building the defense. Then now you're looking at the offense. If these guys don't work out, you're making depth guys starters. Now you're going to go turn to another piece of depth. 38-year-old Incognito's brought back, and everyone's clapping their hands. Cable and Gruden, year 4 of all this sub 500 turnaround, the offensive line, that's what Gruden wanted to build, these gargoyles up front. So, I like
that. Gargoyles up front.
That's what they had, these mountain-sized people.
That was a great show, wasn't it? That was a show.
I love gargoyles. I used to watch that every day. I come home.
right after Batman.
Yeah. Haagen-Dazs vanilla bean ice cream, and I'd turn on and watch gargoyles.
Vanilla bean, I like that.
I don't know, but it's a question mark to me. It's yet to be foreseen. Mm-hmm. I would love if the first round they weren't having to it's a deep tackle draft, but I would love them in the first round to be able to just add the best available defensive star weapon to the team. And now they're kind of pigeonholed that everyone kind of thinks they're going to go tackle.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to go tackle. I was telling Dwayne this before we went live. I could still see Gruden doing something crazy, like when a wide receiver.
Oh boy.
Yeah. You know what? As long as it translates to win, I don't care. But the offensive line now, the Mac trade really hit me. It's like I couldn't believe my eyes. The Hudson thing really hit me. But I kept saying it, like, I wish we had a backup for Hudson because Hudson's getting long in the tooth. I said that on several shows.
Yep.
And I just wasn't ready for it when it happened.
Now, yeah.
Yeah, and it was scary because it was our best unit on the field, And it took a shock, and I'm glad that they were able to flip it, and get a draft pick out of it, third, or I think it was. And fine, he didn't want to be there. Something was going on there. He didn't feel like we were close enough. And that tells a lot about the team.
Yep.
And it sucks.
Sadly. Yeah.
Hudson was one of the real ones. You know what? He was not on Instagram and he's not dancing like an idiot. He's the real one. He played every snap almost. He was not out there. Yeah. And the fact that guy wants to leave, that kind of scares me a little bit more if you look into it. So then you go to whoever it's going to be. Maybe it's not going to be Andre James. Maybe it's going to be the guy from the Texans. I don't know.
Nick Martin.
Yeah. He's a big boy too. But the only thing that gives me hope is this team last season was just like the wide receiver room was just a constant who's going to play at this position. And it worked for the most part other than the run game. Now, I think I saw that Hudson was not that good in run protection or he was dipping a little bit. But I'm curious to see what goes on. I hope they don't have to go with the right tackle first round because that's kind of iffy. But it is what it is. It's going to be scary. The Incognito thing, I'm indifferent about it. I like him as a player. He's dog.
Me too.
He's going to be immediately.
He's very good. When he plays, he's very good.
He's very good. And he's going to immediately become that captain. I can see him even getting the captain patch, but I think he's come a long way. He stayed out of trouble. We were all worried about that when he came back. Remember that? He just got hurt. So I like the signing, but I think the future is John Simpson and then was it Good, right? Denzel Good.
Denzel Good.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So for me, I just go by like how they played. And were they good in pass protection? They were pretty good in pass protection. They weren't good in run protection. They were the highest paid position group on the field, and then their play was coming back down. They're getting a little older. You're gonna have to pay Colton Miller next year. You got to free up some money there. And they have. I mean, the one thing I'll say about Andre James, the game was 2 years ago against Detroit. How many points did the Raiders score in that game? 31. They beat. That was a game they beat.
They won.
They won that game.
That was a Renfro game. The game winner.
Yeah.
Or Renfro.
Yeah.
So like to me, I feel like the Nick Martin signing is a good signing. The thing I don't like about the Andre James thing is just give him this year to prove it and pay him next year. Like, I mean, that was my only real beef about like the Hudson thing. Hudson, if I was talking to Rodney, I would have told Rodney, hey, Rodney, why don't you go play in Green Bay? Because that's more of a sure thing for the playoffs than Arizona. Like Arizona has a lot of nice pieces and they look good on paper, and they'll be the most used team in Madden in the next year.
Oh, yeah.
No question about it, right? But like, do you really trust that head coach? I mean, do you really? I mean, like, is Kyler Murray? If you look at Kyler Murray's numbers in depth, it really wasn't. I mean, he really struggled the second half of the year, even before the big injury. Like teams really kind of hunkered down on him. So we'll have to see what happens with him. But to me, my biggest issue with the center position is the fact that they gave 3 years, $21 million to an undrafted free agent who, like, to me, we have seen players on scholarship for the Raiders a lot. Like, just make him earn it for you, just for one time. Okay, like how much is a center really going to make anyway? Like, how good could he be next year where you would pay him more money than what he's getting right now? I don't fault Andre James for signing it. If I was him, I'd sign that shit too. I would sign it too. Denzel Good coming back, yes, makes sense. He played well last year. If they can keep him at guard, go ahead. I'm not fine. I don't have a problem with taking a tackle in the first round, because I feel like tackle like offensive lineman is a little bit less of a bust factor. Like, I just feel like if the tight end from Florida, if Pitts is there, you're gonna have to you would have to, like, you know how in our Marvel movie where, like, what's his name, Doctor Strange can put these little circles and put somebody in another universe. You would have to do that to Gruden for him not to pick that guy.
Kick him out for a little bit, put him in a box.
The way he's playing, the way he's like grading out right now, he looks off the charts.
But you also got to think, though, too, if Pitts is there, just to jump off the topic, but if Pitts is there, I mean, he's going to find a trade partner as well. That could appetize somebody else.
Yeah. I know it's not this, but I know looking back, and like, I mean, kind of a little long-winded, so I'll get you guys back in there. But looking back at it now, as much as I bellyached and all Raider Nation bellyached about Derwin James, Cole Miller has been the more consistent, the more reliable every Sunday player. Then the upside of Derwin James is higher. Like when he plays his best and Cole Miller plays his best, Derwin James has been is a higher, but he doesn't get to that point because he's always hurt. So
it's harder to replace a left tackle than a DB. You know.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a good pass rush, there's different things with that. I just think people need to stop comparing it, because the reality is, where we're at, but look at our biggest need right now. I mean, we'll get to it in a second, but it's safety. We need dynamic playmaking safety. Probably another hole Gruden will have to fill again.
I say that one for last. I say that one for last because other things I want to talk about first. But
okay,
I think we are. But I think the thought process was I'm okay with, because the position group was aging and the production was coming down. Yeah. My issue is like the whole thing with Rodney is like, it's just like you got something for him. He went to Arizona. They're gonna pass a whole lot anyway. I just don't like the extension immediately for James. Like, you don't need to prove, like, he needs to prove to you guys he could play. You don't need to pay him to show us that he's a good player. Last point I will make is just, I think that Cable is he's seen this player for 2 years every day. So I do think that to a certain extent, I mean, week 3, if he's not doing his job, then we'll call him out for it. But at least I'll give him the benefit of the doubt a little bit. And they do have insurance with Nick Martin, so that's a thought on that.
Yeah, and my closing thing with, I'm a Notre Dame fan, so I know who Nick Martin is. He hasn't had a good NFL career. He's not really. I think between the two of them, you're still gonna have something that's less productive all around on the offensive line with getting the signal, the audible, the call checks from Carr, the communication, everything. I think neither of them will have the pedigree that Hudson had, and that's for sure. How much will it hurt us though, Dwayne? Like you said, Detroit 2009, we scored.
I think they scored a bunch of points, and he got but that's one game, and he was getting. But like,
if he gets owned and he breaks Carr's ribs, then what are we gonna say, right? So, or if he's, Josh Jacobs gets
God forbid
shin smashed, it's just
God forbid.
I'm just saying that
I'm gonna break up my Mariota jersey.
I mean, right? Oh man,
you know what? I got one of those. So
it is a 1-game sample, though. And to your point, Mariota, Mariota played very well in the Charger game last year, but it was just 1 game. His career, he's had a lot of struggles. So it's 1 game. So for better or worse, it doesn't mean much. I really hope that they're doing something. The money was ridiculous. There's zero reason, though. I agree with you, Dwayne. There's no reason to put that coin.
Just let him play the year out, and if he balls out, then I got no. Just pay him then. And if he plays hardball, then you can franchise him. The highest center doesn't get paid. I mean, now that the Chargers got that center from the Packers, that number could be a little bit higher, but. To me, it is what it is. Like that makes no sense to me. That part was the part where, but I do think that there is something. I think the 2 coaches I'm intrigued about, 2 assistant coaches I'm intrigued about are Millis, the DB coach, because I heard that guy's a monster, and I can't wait to see. I can't see what he can do with the Isaiah Johnsons and the Meek Robinsons and the Trayvon Mullins of the world. Yes, And I do trust Cable to get this, and plus they're going to zone blocking, and there is the footage, the all 22 bears it out. Like, Josh is better at the zone blocking than he is power. Like, he just is, and that's where they're going to, and we'll see what happens as far as that goes. But yeah.